In a small dusty village, there lived a boy named Chinedu. Every morning, while other children walked proudly to school in neat uniforms, Chinedu walked quietly behind them, wearing the same torn shirt he had worn for years. His sandals were broken. His pockets were empty. But in his hands, he carried something precious. A book. To Chinedu, that book was hope. But to the other children, it was a joke. They laughed at him. "Look at him," one boy shouted. Another pointed and laughed. "Even his clothes are tired." The group burst into laughter. Chinedu heard every word. He felt every insult. But he didn't stop walking. He didn't turn back. He simply held his book tighter and kept moving forward. Behind the laughter, there was something they couldn't see. A dream. A dream bigger than the village. A dream that one day, the same people laughing at him would speak his name with respect. Because sometimes, the boy everyone laughs at today becomes the man everyone admires tomorrow. Life at home was not any easier for Chinedu. Every morning before the sun had fully risen, he followed his mother down the dusty village path. School could wait. Survival could not. His mother carried heavy jerrycans of water, her face tired from years of struggle. And beside her walked Chinedu. Small, thin, and wearing torn clothes. But he refused to let his mother carry everything alone. Even though the jerrycan was almost too heavy for his small arms, he held it tightly and kept walking. Step by step. The road was long. The sun was hot. And the weight felt like it would break his back. His mother looked down at him with worry. "My son," she said softly. "You are still a child." But Chinedu shook his head. "I must help you, Mama." In that moment, the village saw only a poor boy carrying water. But what they did not see was a boy learning strength, responsibility, and sacrifice. Because sometimes, the children who carry the heaviest burdens grow up to build the strongest futures. While the rest of the village slept, Chinedu was still awake. The night was quiet. The only light in the small room came from a single kerosene lamp flickering on the wooden table. Electricity was a luxury his family could not afford. But Chinedu refused to let darkness stop his dreams. With tired eyes and worn clothes, he bent over his book, writing carefully in his notebook. Outside the window, the moon hung silently over the village. Inside the room, the sound of his pencil moving across the paper was the only thing breaking the silence. He studied every night like this. Sometimes until midnight. Sometimes until the lamp almost ran out of fuel. Many people in the village thought it was pointless. "What difference will studying make for a poor boy like him?" they said. But Chinedu believed something different. He believed that knowledge could take him farther than the dusty roads of his village. So while others slept, Chinedu kept writing. Because the boy who studies in silence today is often the man the world hears about tomorrow. The day finally came when Chinedu had to leave the village. The dusty road that had watched him grow up would now watch him go. At the small village bus stop, his mother held his face in her hands, trying to hide the tears in her eyes. 4 years, she had struggled to raise him. Now she was sending him far away, to the busy city of Onitsha. Chinedu carried only a small bag and a worn backpack. He owned very little. But inside him, he carried something far more valuable. A dream. Around them, villagers gathered to watch. Some were curious. Some were proud. And some quietly wondered if the poor boy would ever succeed. His mother pulled him close and whispered softly, "My son, go and make something of your life." Chinedu nodded. He didn't know what the future would bring. But he knew one thing for certain. He would not return the same boy who left. As the bus engine roared and the doors closed, Chinedu stepped forward. Away from the village. Away from poverty. And toward the life he had always dreamed about. Life in the city was nothing like the village. Onitsha was loud, crowded, and unforgiving. From sunrise to sunset, Chinedu worked harder than he had ever worked before. He was no longer just a poor boy. Now he was an apprentice. Every day he carried heavy sacks of rice through the busy market streets. His shoulders ached. His hands were rough. And sometimes the weight felt like it would crush him. But Chinedu never complained. While others saw only a struggling young worker, Chinedu saw something different. Opportunity. He watched carefully. How traders negotiated prices. How goods were bought and sold. How successful businessmen built their empires from small shops. Every sack he carried, every long day in the market, every drop of sweat, was teaching him something. Years passed like this. Hard work, patience, sacrifice. Because Chinedu understood something many people did not. Sometimes the road to success begins with carrying the heaviest loads. Years passed. Years of hard work. Years of sacrifice. Years of carrying heavy loads and learning the trade. Then one evening, something unexpected happened. Chinedu's boss called him into the shop. "Chinedu," the old man said, looking at him with pride. "You have served faithfully." Chinedu stood quietly, unsure of what was about to happen. The shop owner reached into a drawer and pulled out an envelope. Slowly, he placed it into Chinedu's hands. Inside was money. Real money. Enough to start his own business. Chinedu stared at it in disbelief. His hands trembled. For years he had worked, hoping for this moment. But now that it was here, it almost didn't feel real. In Igbo business culture, this moment had a special name. Settlement. It was the moment when an apprentice was trusted to begin his own journey. The poor boy who once carried sacks through the market was now ready to build something of his own. And for Chinedu, this was only the beginning. Years passed after Chinedu started his own business. The small money he received during his settlement, he did not waste it. Every profit he made, he reinvested. His first shop was small. Just a tiny store in a crowded market. But Chinedu worked harder than ever. Day and night, he bought goods, sold products, and slowly grew his business. The small shop became a bigger shop. The bigger shop became a warehouse. Soon trucks were arriving to load goods. Containers began arriving from overseas. People in the market started calling him something new. Chief Chinedu. The same boy who once carried heavy sacks through the market now owned the warehouses those sacks were stored in. Cars, houses, businesses. Everything he had once dreamed about was now his reality. But Chinedu never forgot the poor boy he used to be. Many years later, Chinedu returned to the same village he once left behind. But this time, everything was different. The poor boy who once walked the dusty roads with torn clothes did not return on foot. He arrived in a convoy of luxury cars. As the vehicles rolled into the village, people rushed outside to see what was happening. Some villagers rubbed their eyes in disbelief. "Is that Chinedu?" one man whispered. "The poor boy?" another asked. "Yes, it's him." The same boy they once laughed at had returned as Chief Chinedu. But what happened next shocked everyone. Instead of showing anger, instead of seeking revenge, Chinedu chose something greater. He built a new school for the children of the village, so no child would struggle to learn the way he once did. He built a market where women could sell their goods and earn a better living, just like his mother once struggled to do. And he gave scholarships to poor children who reminded him of the boy he used to be. That day, the village didn't just welcome back a successful man. They welcomed back a man who had returned to lift others up. One quiet afternoon in the village, Chinedu sat beside a young boy. The child looked up at him with curiosity. "Sir," the boy asked softly, "were you always rich?" Chinedu smiled. The question made him remember everything. The torn clothes. The long dusty walks to school. The nights studying under a small kerosene lamp. The heavy sacks he carried in the market. And the laughter of people who believed he would never become anything. He gently placed his hand on the boy's shoulder. "No," Chinedu said. "I was once the poorest boy in this village." The boy's eyes widened in surprise. Chinedu looked around at the village that had once known him as the struggling child. Then he said something the boy would never forget. "Never laugh at someone because they are poor today." He paused, then added quietly, "You never know what tomorrow has planned for them." Because sometimes, the boy everyone overlooks today becomes the man everyone respects tomorrow.